Bank Union has called for a day-long strike across India.
Dhanlaxmi Bankil നിന്ന് പിരിച്ചുവിട്ട ബാങ്ക് ഓഫീസേഴ്സ് കോൺഫെഡറേഷൻ ദേശീയ നേതാവ് V Mohanan തിരിച്ചെടുക്കാമെന്ന വ്യവസ്ഥ ബാങ്ക് മാനേജ്മെന്റ് ലംഘിച്ചതായി ആക്ഷേപം.
This is the 10th year of the most unfortunate event that happened in Dhanlaxmi Bank. The unblemished leader of Dhanlaxmi Bank Officers Organization, V Mohanan, was terminated without citing any reason. Even now, the management cannot hold forth a single reason why they terminated the services of Mohan.
Mr. V Mohanan had been an officer of Dhanlaxmi Bank for more than 38 years, with many laurels and awards to his credit. Mr. Mohanan had worked in different areas of banking, including branch management, treasury management, planning, electronic funds transfer, etc. Whichever area he worked in, he was always considered a valuable asset to the organization. Still, all these accomplishments counted for nothing on a fateful day 10 years back, on 11th June 2015.
It was a rainy afternoon when the whole thing changed for me in my life. I vividly remember the HR head of the bank coming to me and handing over an envelope. It was my termination order, which states that your service is no longer required for the bank. No memo was served, no explanation sought. It was a termination all of a sudden.
The casual cruelty and unprofessionalism of this gesture were further highlighted by the fact that the termination letter did not state any reason for this extreme action nor give him any opportunity to defend himself. This unprecedented violation of basic employee rights and basic human rights sparked outrage across the banking fraternity, irrespective of political affiliations. A call for an indefinite strike was made by the officers and other staff of the bank. The ripple effect was felt across the nation as the working fraternity in the banking sector declared solidarity with him.
നീചമായ നയമാണ് നടപ്പിലാക്കിയത്.
The unethical, unwarranted and provoking action taken by the management of the Dhanlaxmi Bank.
His name became a symbol of standing up against unprincipled behavior and the high-handedness of the bank management. This was not just one man's fight. It was a protest against inhuman policies which rode roughshod over a man's basic dignity. An upstanding citizen and prominent personality like Mr. K. Jayakumar IAS, retired Chief Secretary of the state and an independent director of the bank at the time of the incident.
Sir, as we mark 10 years since the termination of Shri V Mohanan from service of Dhanlaxmi Bank, How do you view this prolonged pursuit of justice?
I view it with extreme sense of anguish and to a great extent indignation. Why? Because here is an individual who has done no guilt, who has done no evil, who has done no crime, done no wrong to the bank, but dismissed from service and asked to go from pillar to post for the last 10 years. I have some personal connection with this particular incident. I was on the board of directors when this took place. That was in 2016. I resigned from the bank on account of this. His only wrong was that he, as the General Secretary of the Employees Union, he issued a notice saying that we are going on strike against the wrong policies of the bank. I don't know by what stealth or by what extreme imagination the then managing director decided that he should be straight away dismissed from the service for issuing a notice. I was aghast.
The bank management could not produce any evidence before the court justifying their whimsical behavior, except insisting on their right to terminate any staff member at their pleasure.
People who knew Mohanan always knew that he is a good trade unionist, no doubt. He's a good general secretary, but arguing for the case of the employees, fine. But when it comes to the affairs of the bank, he has been a wonderful manager. He has done no wrong to the bank. He has a crystal clear record as a manager, as an employee of the bank. But simply because he issued a notice for striking, he was sacked. My sensibility was shocked. Nowhere in Kerala, nowhere in my memory, can any trade union leader be dismissed for issuing a notice. Actually, his tenure was up to March 2016. So when I went to the board meeting in March 2016, I went with a very determined plea saying that, okay, you have punished him, you have conveyed our displeasure. Now take him back on 31st of March in the forenoon. Allow him to retire gracefully. Give him the eligible benefits. Take him back on 31st of forenoon and let him retire in the afternoon of 31st March. That would be the most graceful thing for the bank to do. Again, it fell on, literally speaking, on deaf ears. Nobody responds. I very emphatically made a plea. Nothing happened. They went ahead. The dismissal took effect from June of 2015. Mr. Mohanan had no alternative but to go to the court. For several years, the civil court matter dragged. I also went to the court to give evidence, and I narrated the whole story.
The court ruled in 2022 that the termination order does not hold up under legal scrutiny and held the order as unsustainable. It is interesting to note some cardinal points in the judgment of the court. His services were abruptly terminated under the guise of a simple termination, a grosser illustration of the violation of the principles of natural justice is difficult to envisage. It is a shocking state of affairs that the management of a bank should throw to winds the elementary principles of natural justice in dealing with the alleged misconduct of a union leader of the bank. The case is now pending with the Honorable High Court of Kerala, and Mr. Mohanan and the large number of his well-wishers are confident that the Court of Appeal will ultimately decide in his favor, with more serious observations against the bank.
It is a decade since V Mohanan made the unceremonious exit from Dhanlaxmi Bank through a simple termination order, denying him all terrible benefits. When the news reached me, it was only shocking to me, but it is beyond my comprehension. I was the CEO and chairman of this bank from 1997 to 2002, where I had an occasion to have a close relationship with V Mohanan. I found him to be a trade union leader of a different order. He is one person totally committed to the work that has been allotted to him without looking to the time. There was an occasion during the period he was handling Treasury Department. That was a period when he was able to generate the highest treasury income for the bank And this has been complimented even by the board members. He's such a type of person who is always committed, but even in other areas, I understand that he has worked in various departments, both in field and administrative offices, and he has not given room for any adverse record. He is so totally committed to the bank, despite his position as a general secretary of the Office Association. We used to have a lot of interaction with him on union-related matters, and that he has never lost sight of bank's interest. I'm sure he will be the winner in the legal battle that has been initiated. And I only hope and wish that this episode comes to an end at the earliest, resulting in celebration for his colleagues and for me personally also.
I know Sri V Mohanan right from the year 2002. My academic interest in the subject of treasury management must have brought us together, as he was the chief dealer of the bank during that period. During our discussions, I could gauge his depth of knowledge and commitment to work. So, the news that Mr. Mohanan's services have been terminated by the bank, that too just before his retirement, came as a rude shock to me. During that period, maybe in the second half of 2015, I was brought in as an additional director on the board of the bank, as recommended by the management. Being appointed as per the management's recommendations, I felt that I had the moral responsibility to convey my disagreement to such action. My viewpoint was not shared by them, and they held to their position rather tenaciously for whatever reasons they had. Of course, it was heartrending to witness an upright person who served the institutions for decades with devotion being sent home with rightful entitlements denied just before retirement. I did not have opportunity to pursue the matter further, as my tenure on the board came to an abrupt end. Positive changes are reported to have taken place in the bank. The improved performance of the bank over these years must have been made possible, among other things, by improved governance, including positive HR administration. I would therefore trust that the present dispensation in the bank would take initiative to introspect and try to recoup losses suffered by Sri Mohanan. That would be a graceful response to the question Sri Mohanan has been posing all these years. His question, which I could not answer.
Comrade Mohanan deserves closure, dignity, and all rightful dues, including pension. He has served with distinction not just as a banker, but as a leader of the movement. On behalf of All India Bank Officers Confederation, I reaffirm our support to Comrade V Mohanan.
ബഹുമാനപ്പെട്ട കോടതികളടക്കം V മോഹനനെ നിർദാക്ഷിണ്യം പിരിച്ചുവിട്ട നടപടിയെ അതിനിശിതമായി വിമർശിക്കുകയുണ്ടായി. ചരിത്രം സൃഷ്ടിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത് പോരാളികളാണ്. ചരിത്രം സൃഷ്ടിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത് സഹനവും ത്യാഗവും ജീവിത മുദ്രയായി സ്വീകരിച്ചവരാണ്. ലക്ഷണമൊത്ത ഒരു തൊഴിലാളി വർഗ പ്രതിനിധിയായി V മോഹനൻ ഉയർന്നപ്പോൾ അത് ബാങ്ക് ഓഫീസർമാർക്ക് മാത്രമല്ല, ബാങ്ക് ജീവനക്കാരിലാകെ ആവേശവും ആത്മാഭിമാനവും സ്ഫുരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു അടയാളപ്പെടുത്തലായി രൂപാന്തരപ്പെടുകയുണ്ടായി. ഈ പോരാട്ടം അവസാനിക്കുകയല്ല, മറിച്ച് വർത്തമാന കാലഘട്ടത്തിലെ ഇന്ന് നടക്കുന്ന ഈ പ്രക്ഷോഭങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇന്നലെകളിൽ എങ്ങനെ പ്രതിരോധം ഉയർത്താമെന്ന് സ്വന്തം ജീവിതം കൊണ്ട് കാണിച്ചു തന്ന ശ്രീ V മോഹനന്റെ സമരപാത ഒരു പഠന വിഷയമാണ്. ഈ സഹനത്തിന്, ഈ ത്യാഗത്തിന്, അവനവന് വേണ്ടിയല്ലാതെയുള്ള അപരനായിട്ടുള്ള ഈ വിദാന്തമായ ക്ഷമയ്ക്ക് സഖാവ് V മോഹനനെ മുക്തകണ്ഠം പ്രശംസിക്കുന്നു. വലിയ ആവേശത്തോടെ, അഭിമാനത്തോടെ V മോഹനനെ അഭിവാദ്യം ചെയ്യുന്നു. ഒരു പതിറ്റാണ്ട് പിന്നിടുമ്പോഴും അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ ആവേശത്തിന്, നിശ്ചയദാർഢ്യത്തിന്, കമ്മിറ്റ്മെന്റിന് ലവലേശം ഇളക്കം തട്ടിയിട്ടില്ല എന്ന ആ അനുഭവം നമുക്കെല്ലാവർക്കും പ്രചോദനമാണ്. ആ ദീപശിഖ ഇനിയും മുന്നോട്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ വരും തലമുറ അതിനെ സ്വീകരിക്കേണ്ടതുണ്ട്, പഠിക്കേണ്ടതുണ്ട്, മുന്നോട്ട് പോകേണ്ടതുണ്ട്.
He was a fearless and principled leader of the bank officers movement. He was an outstanding officer of the bank too. The management dismissed him from the bank services on very specious grounds, and it was in violation of the principles of natural justice. He was held guilty without being heard. The consequential trauma and the social stigma he suffered are unimaginable.
The path to being vindicated is not easy. But it is important to stand up for what is right, to stand up for justice, not only for one's own sake, but for all others who might find themselves in a similar situation.
Filing a case against the bank that had given me my livelihood was a tough decision. However, when I approached the Human Rights Commission, the bank's response was striking. They stated that they were not alleging any misconduct on my part, and if I had any grievances, I could seek damages through civil court. In fact, the higher authorities of Dhanlaxmi Bank literally dragged me into legal recourse.
Why is he being penalized? For what mistake? You cannot victimize an innocent.
When he has got this punishment, in my view, it is a gross injustice that has been done to him, drive him, forcing him to seek legal remedy.
All these years, his question, which I could not answer, was,
why did the bank terminate my service?
Why they terminated the services of Mohan? It continues to haunt all. Why this has happened to a person like Mohanan?
This is the justice that is being given to him.
You should understand the mental agony he and his family would have undergone during this trying period, which cannot be imagined.
The silence from the bank and its executives, even when questioned by the Human Rights Commission as well as by the Honorable Court, only deepens my quest for answers.
It is important to prove that the common man with no other resources but integrity and dignity can ask for and receive justice even from those with massive clout. Mr. Mohanan's refusal to give up is based on his faith in the law of the land and the hope that truth will prevail in the end. Those who know the circumstances of this saga hope and pray that the anguish Mohanan and his family have been going through for a decade will soon end, and that justice will prevail.